Hello, this is Miss Sarah, and I'm coming to you today to show you how to paint a rice paddle puppet. These are the characters from Giselle. Well, there's some of the characters from Giselle. I'm using them just as examples. I have here a boy, a girl, in this case Giselle, and a lady, in this case she is the fiance of Albert. That part doesn't matter. The story is important if you're taking the ballet class. If you're only interested in the puppets, I want to draw your attention to the three big parts of the puppet that we will paint together. The first thing we're going to paint are the big eyes, which have to happen right in the middle of the face. The second thing we're going to paint is the hair. And the third thing we're going to paint is the dress. And the dress or suit, doesn't matter which, you'll notice we've got some differences, right? You see how her mouth is different than his mouth. His eyebrows are different than her eyelashes. His hair different than hers. Now, the three big things, as I said, are eyes, hair, and clothing, because those other parts, like the shoes, which I always love to paint, they're not essential. You see how the maiden here, the lady, she's got curves on her face. She's got a nose. Here we almost have the whisper of a nose. The puppet that we're going to paint today, I'm going to include a bunch of extra details for, so that you can see how they're done and you can play with them when you decide you want to paint your own puppet. So here we go. We're going to paint the most basic lady dancer. I've got a big rice paddle here. I bought this at Ranch 99. They cost me less than $1 each. Now, this is just a little, I believe I got 6 of these in a packet at the 99-cent store. This is just a little artist palette. And into that, I'm going to put white for the eyes. I like this brand for white. I am the pickiest about white. Pickier about white than any other color. I'm going to put black down. That's going to be for, in this case, the hair and the eyelashes. You can see my black is separating, so I have to shake it a lot. And I actually shook these before we started. So that's proof this one likes to separate. And then I really wanted the girl that I painted today to have red, so that you saw it was the most basic colors possible. But I don't have any red. I'm all out. So I'm using my darkest pink. This one's called Pink Blossom, but it really doesn't matter. You need something that's in the family of pink or red, mostly because of her lips. If you are interested in making your doll blonde, use a yellow, and please take my advice on this, mix in gold. I like to have gold on my palette all the time for many different reasons, and I will use gold today to mix in with the hair to give it some dimension. All right. Now, like I mentioned before, the very first thing that you paint are the eyes. These are just Craft Smart brushes I got at Michael's. I believe I got a kit of 6 for $5. They've got these ergonomic handles, and I like them a lot. But what matters isn't the brand of brush. It's the shape of the bristles. This is a round bristle brush, and I find it the best for making the eyes. You might notice, remember I said I was picky about the white? This isn't plain white. It's got a little glitter in it, just a tiny bit, and that helps the eyes be extra shiny. I'm gonna look for the middle of the eye, or the middle of the face, and then I'm gonna make a really big almond shape. Really big almond shape. Now, my advice for you on making the eyes, which I think are both the hardest and the most important, is that you put the paint on kind of thin so that it dries sort of quickly. Because what you're going to have to do is go over it again and again and again. Because as soon as you put it on, what you notice is that it's not as thick as you want it to be. And it's never going to be. I doubt that I have, in all of the puppets that I've painted, ever found a white that I thought was thick enough. And so the very first thing that you paint are the eyes. And it's also going to be the very last thing that you finish off. You want very much for the paint to be thin so that you don't have big ripples in the paint. You will notice brush marks. You'll notice globs. It's just going to happen. It's totally normal and natural. Now, I have all this extra white, yeah? So I'm going to put some of this extra white here because it's going to be handy to me later. Now I'm going to get another brush. I really like this super flat brush to do hair. Remember I said before, my hair, I want to mix a little bit. This is my black, and I'm going to take a little bit of gold on my brush too. And I'm going to start off center and just make a sweep and a sweep. And I'm going to spend the rest of my hair sweeping in the black and the gold. For some reason, my colors are not doing all that I want them to in the mixing. They're kind of getting a little funny, and I think you can see that. Now, you want to keep whatever you're doing for the hair, unless it's just straight black or just straight yellow, keep it separate from the rest. You see how I have these little mixing stations right here? Now, the next thing I'm going to do are the lips, and the lips are also going to be the same color as the dress. So I have this little brush that's got kind of a curve to it. And all I'm going to do for the mouth is tap it here and tap it here. Isn't that cute? Now, some of you might remember or know, if you don't know already, that I used to be a film critic. And that means that I've seen a lot of movies. My favorite movies, I'm painting the dress now, are old. I really like movies from the 20s and the 30s. And when you look at movies from old times, what you see is that there are fashions, things that people thought were beautiful at one time or another that we don't use as much anymore. And one of the things that's really lovely about that is that you can see even how people used to put on their makeup. It used to be very attractive for a mouth to look like a bow in the 20s, and that's why I make my mouth look like a bow, at least on the girl that's supposed to be the main character. Now, you probably noticed as I started painting the dress, what I did was I started right where what the chin of our rice paddle would be. I start right at that corner, and then I make a big sweep down, and then I go to the other corner and make a big sweep down, and that naturally makes a V right here, and you can change that however you want. And then the rest, when you just paint it down, it's not going to be thick enough on the first few rounds. Now, this is the fun part. Down here at the bottom, you can make the skirt end however you want. I really like ending it with little wisps because it's better than having this, you know, where you have like ruffles are not bad, but it's not as attractive as other choices. Now, there's no dimension in my pink. It's totally flat, and that's okay. What's going to happen is that as this specific pink dries, it actually has this kind of, I think it's about the pigment in it. Sometimes it's really dark, sometimes it's really light. It looks powdery, like matte, which is great. So this is one, well, it's more than one coat, but this is one coat for our purposes here. And I'm gonna wait until this dries to add more. So since I have a chance to do another thing while things are drying, I'm gonna show you the shoes. The shoes are a J, an X, and a line. J, X, line. Now I like to make my J in the other direction. J, X, line. These are not perfect. She is a rice paddle. She doesn't have to be perfect. One of the things that I like to do that you don't have to do, you don't have to if you don't like it, of course. I'll take a little bit of pink on my finger. And in this case, I even made it lighter. You see how I took a little bit of white and mixed that in? What I'm gonna do is give her cheeks. The key to cheeks, though, is that you have to rub them. And so there's a little chance, you know, that when you rub, the wrong color will get stuck. You have to be kind of careful and do it in steps. Don't do it just once. See? But I mean, you guys have seen my puppets. These are not perfect, and I couldn't make them perfect if I wanted to, but that's all right, because when you see the character, you know, you go, this is the character that I'm watching, and it's all right that it's not perfect. Now, it looks like the eyes have gotten to be a place where they're dry enough for me to do the hardest part of the puppet. Everybody does a different thing or uses their brushes in a different way. my black is acting a little funny today. You might notice it's got kind of a grit to it, and that's new. So I may, even though this is really slippery, and this is definitely my black, I may have to do more than one coat. Now that's kind of dangerous because you see, when you do the eyes, you only have one chance to get it right. So you want to make sure that everything is as good as it can be. You know, the white of your eye is as dry as you can get it. And then you put very little on your brush. See, when you dip it, I've got a fine brush. I've got a big dot of paint at the end of it, and that's not going to work, right? What we're going to do first is do 2 dots as close to the middle as possible, and those are the pupils. And then, got to make sure first that there's paint on the brush. We go starting about here. If you start over here, she'll look angry. You have to start over here and do a big swoop. Swoop. Now, if you by accident make a swoop that doesn't work out, I'm going to show you what you could do to sort of fix it. See, my swoop didn't really work out, but look what I'm about to do. I'm going to give her eyelashes. And then you kind of fix the swoop. Make it on both sides and you're in good shape. Now you see she's not perfect, right? My girl is not smiling. Is our heroine supposed to smile? Yes. So I'm going to take my brush with just the, oops, tiny bit. Look, I made a mistake. And I'm going to fix it. It's all right. Tiny end of the brush. I'm going to stick out a little bit of the paint as it stands. And then I'm going to rub down to get the excess off. And I could see how it will end, how her little face will end. I like to rub the excess because I'm right-handed, so I like to rub the excess. You've seen me do it a couple times on my left hand because I know that I won't be using it, you know? Then, when I feel like I've got control over my brush and my amount of paint, I'll try to smooth the edges. And she'll look a little bit more like a smiling person. A little bit more like a smiling person. All right, I have just made a rice paddle puppet, just like all of the puppets that we have in every puppet story at the end of every ballet class. Soon we'll be doing another new ballet story online, which has just been so much fun. And later on, I'll show you how to make a boy puppet. Thanks so much for watching. See you again soon.